Can y'all hear me? I guess you can't really answer, can you? That's sad. There we go. Hey. Cool. Balkan had that ready to go. Copy paste. Give me 1 minute. I'm getting my notes out. All right, ready to go. Welcome to office hours, everybody. Hope you had a good week. It's been a little bit crazy here, as you probably have noticed. I am here to take your questions as well as your suggestions, things you want to make sure the dev team is aware of. This is a great opportunity for you guys to directly communicate whatever's on your mind. And Balkan has the first question. I'd like to know if there's ever going to be a whole new survival mode map. And then you suggest it'd be awesome to have a Batman themed one with villains like Scarecrow and Two-Face. Just get sad we don't see the Joker in around 9, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We do expect to do more survival modes. I think a Batman one would be a pretty dang good idea. But it's not immediately planned for the near future. I am noting your Batman suggestion. Jareth wants to know when the test server will be back with a revamp. Actually, today. In fact, I forgot to mention, we may have to cut office hours short by 20 or 30 minutes today, depending on when the test server is ready to rock and roll. I want to make sure it gets up today as soon as possible. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Going up on the stats revamp for the test server today is the munitions revamp and the fire revamp, and a couple of changes for nature and celestial that we didn't quite get to last time, and a couple of other small things here or there. That's the bulk of it. No big overarching revamp changes. We're just focused on the power sets still. This will be all the power sets on the test server. After we've gone through the process with fire and munitions, we'll probably do another survey and open up all the threads and spend some time polishing the entire revamp. I think, as you've seen, we've responded to feedback quite a bit, and we've been doing some of these later power sets a little differently than we did some of the earlier ones, so we want to go back and kind of make everything consistent, as well as address some of the outstanding concerns and feedback. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Jacob the Rebel asks, people have been discussing the possibility of removing role-less buffs in the stats revamp. Have you all taken this into consideration? I guess we did take it into consideration, but we don't plan to remove role-less buffs in alerts. That's really the only place that they exist. And we find it's a nice benefit for damage players to be able to just play regardless without waiting for a role to show up. That's why they're introduced in the first place. That said, they do work quite a bit differently in the stats revamp. I don't know if we've really talked about that. I don't know if those changes are actually live in what's on test or what's been on test. But it's supposed to be a little bit more fair and spread the burden around. One thing that's kind of interesting about the role-less buffs on live is that there's no buff for not having damage, right? So if you go damage, you get the perks of all the roles, but if you go healer, you don't have the perk of not having damage there. So that's kind of adjusted where everybody has like a give and take in the role-less situation if you don't have roles present. More detail on that at a later time when that hits test. Somebody said they like wind power, and then it got deleted. Where'd it go? I swear I saw that. Water's next. Water's after the stats revamp. We don't have time frames for either. And I don't have anything to share about powers after that. Water is the singular focus we have. LQ asks, will there be a base pet for summer seasonal this year or too early to say? I am not going to spoil that. Crappy Heel says, OMG, nature changes, smiley face, thumbs up. In fact, you want a little peek, a little spoiler? 1 second. I think, first of all, I think it's worth saying there's still a lot of feedback on overall healing feel and strength and that kind of thing. It's not specific to any one power set, but across all of them, and we're still looking at that. And we expect to address that in the next phase after fire munitions are out the door, but we do have some specifically nature changes here. Increase the output of all pheromones and poison effects. I believe those are both doubled. Metabolism, increased cost of 450 from 300, along with output and pulse rate, so it became more powerful. Roar now deals burst damage in DPS role and burst healing in healer role, so that was a heal over time, if I'm not mistaken, and now it is a burst, because nature was a little bit lacking in the burst healing department. Savage Growth had damage and healing increased, and the Thorn Burst now does damage in DPS and shields in healer role. Shinobi's been working on some nature changes. So there you go. That's going on test today. Jupiter Tonans has suggested that we add older villain and hero associated styles to Prometheum lockboxes, example, the reverse and Speed Force Spectrum styles, to make them available for both factions. More cross-faction styles in lockboxes. Gotta note that. The Phenomenal One says, fantastic. Is that a good impression of you? Thank you for doing this. Other developers could take a lesson from this. I don't know. My question is this. The game looks good, minus one thing. The character models with the drop of PS3 support, is there a chance we could see some graphic revamps or at least graphic improvements? It's a good question. Not directly tied to PS3 support. Xbox and PS4 are really the limiting factors, as well as just the the age of the game, and the time it would take or the work it would take to go back and just redo everything in a different way. So across the board, no plans there, and it's really not hinging on PS3. PS3 renders lower res models anyway, and PS3 automatically stops rendering things it can't render anymore of. So it's really not holding us back very much there. That said, we are always trying to push the limits of what our visuals can do, and I think you notice that every time we come up with a new style, it looks a little bit better than the last ones did, and we will continue to do that. Jareth says, will we see a live stream of the next episode sometime in May? Most likely, yes, probably. Jacob the Rebel, there have been a lot of bonus currency weekends. I'm wondering if we could start rotating them monthly. Rotating them monthly as in hit all of them every month? I don't know. We might even not have enough weekends to do that. But we definitely like doing the weekends, like the response from players. It's a good reason to log in. It gets everybody excited. So expect to see more of them, I would say. But I don't think they'll become so predictable that you'll be able to always have one every weekend, or they'll be rotating it anyway. LQDCO says, given the timing of present, is there an episode 28 announcement around the corner? We will have an episode 28 development update roughly when it's going to hit the test server, which is probably in May. So keep your eyes open for that. Gargamon says, is there still a possibility that we will ever see new game modes such as persistent contribution that Dizzy used to talk about in DC forums back in 2014? Anything's possible. I have no idea what you're referring to as far as persistent contribution, but I can check in on that. I can tell you there are no immediate plans for new game modes like that. Tharkis has a very, very long-winded question about sorcery and arcane barrage using slow projectiles. This results in Fury underperforming Crystal. Blah, blah, blah. Let me note that. Is that the only sorcery ability that uses slow projectiles, in your opinion? Dave the Dude says, are there any plans for a name? I noted the sorcery thing to follow up on that, but let me know. Dave the Dude says, are there any plans for a name, recycle, reclaim in the near future for any platform? There are no plans for one right now. Jupiter Tonin says, were you thinking about creating feats for having multiple legends of the same character like Batman, or having all bombshell characters? I'm not really motivated to buy the same characters with different looks, but I would for feats. We don't have plans right now. It's an interesting suggestion. That said, Legends and Legends PV is really not our focus at the moment. Dave the Dude says, can we look into getting a shield style in the form of a Starro when the event comes again next time, please? A shield style that's a starfish? That's kind of cool. LQ says, the spring season launches on May 1st. Will it launch at daily reset or at restarts? That is a good question. I do not know. Let me follow up. I guess you guys can hear me talking right, or hear me typing right now, can't you? Hear that? Okay. I asked that question. We'll see what happens. Seven Sins says, will you make a special event or anything regarding the Justice League or Wonder Woman movie? Stay tuned. Find out. Maverick Raven says, hey, I had asked you this yesterday on the forums, but seriously, how much manpower goes into changing the Prometheum lockboxes? This isn't being snarky. I'm just asking because this has been asked for a lot for a long time. The thing is, it doesn't require a whole lot to update the lists, but it does take some time to figure out what those items would be. And all of that work would be systems design, who are about 10 months late on the stats revamp. So it's not a priority compared to them continuing work on the stats revamp. Atomic Wingguard says, will vendor 00 lockboxes and the vault ever be updated? Generally speaking, for the first two, again, that's all systems. So same answer I just said. Updating the vault is a little different. It's usually new items that would need to go in there, and it's not priority right now compared to all the other places new items need to go. Balkan says, I asked that question a long time ago, but would it be possible to get some Batman Beyond content at this time? Not at this time, not like today, but everybody here does really like Batman Beyond. I think it's one of those things that once you come acquainted with it, you know, across the board, it just really sticks with you. So it was something I would personally love to do in the future. Not that we have specific plans, but something we'd like to do. Jacob the Rebel says, could we have some in-game plans to convert simple materials to complex materials? Interesting idea. I'll ask the systems team. Kakashi says, are you planning on making a DCUO 2? No, our focus is on DCUO 1. Balkan says, how about that idea that every power can play a second support role, for example, add for gadgets tanking, or electricity as a controller since it is really good and stunning. Lots of complications there. That would surely take more work than the stats revamp is taking, so that should give you a estimate of time and that kind of thing. not planned, not likely. Jacob the Rebel says, why are the 35% finishers locked to one PI specifically for each power set? Off the top of my head, I think it's for simplicity, but I can see if I can get an answer to that reasoning. Jupiter Tonin says, how long will a spring seasonal last? 1 month or 2 weeks? It lasts all of May, so it's May 1st through May 31st. Darkus says, another quick question. I like adding more to loot lockboxes, but can the only available in lockbox nowhere else styles be put in a style vendor? Some of us have had a very bad luck with lockboxes. Maybe. Let me see. I would really make lockboxes a waste of time, but what else? Jareth says, love the large event. When do you think the next one will be around? We'll probably have another one later this year. I don't have anything to share details yet, though. Dave the Dude says, while I'm not a fan of clamping, I love what you did for the Star event by giving members an option to use our CR stats as well. Hope you do it in the future. Noted. I think my impression is that's gone over pretty well with most people having the clamped everybody version and having the unclamped regular member version. So it's good to see that you also agree with that. Atomic Wingguard says, can we have sword and shield weapon and Avatar Sin Wings? Sword and shield weapon, that's just new animations. We don't have plans for a new weapon right now, but it's a cool suggestion. I think we noted it last week and a couple weeks ago. Avatar of Sin Wings is a style. I'm going to note that. I think we've also noted that before. But no plans right now, but great suggestions. Whenever there's something already in the game that you want in a different way, it's not always possible, but it's oftentimes easier than making something, completely new or different, and therefore more likely to get done. LQDCS says, would it ever be possible to have a content where a clone of one of the players in the group becomes one of the bosses, then have set mechanics depending on the power of the player? That's a really cool idea. No idea if that's possible, how difficult that would be. Dave the Dude says he would spend a lot of money for stabilizers for a water material. What do you mean exactly? Do you mean like the water skin we have, or do you mean something different? Jacob the Rebel says, could we see variations of the Speed Force material in a future booster bundle? No plans. Variations is in different color variations, or do you mean like different texture, different look? Let me know. Oh, will episode 28 be tier 8 or tier 9, or still too early to say? I believe it will still be tier 8, but it's maybe too early for me to be saying that directly. We'll make sure we include that when we actually announce the episode in detail. Vulcan says, some people are using in PvP glitches or speed hacks. Will there be a possibility to put this people on ignore so you won't meet them in cope in PvP? Good suggestion. It's definitely good to report those people in a customer service ticket so that we can take care of them when you do see them. And I would say, just off the top of my head, a PvP ignore seems like something you might exploit for other purposes. But I've noted it. Jared says, the new weekly in the Star event, when do you think they'll make its way back to the live servers? If you're referring to the new boss that never appeared on the live servers, we are still working on him. We did a playtest of him yesterday. He's close, but still needed some work. Still needed to figure out a couple things, expectations for how many players will be required to take him down, that kind of thing. I was hopeful we'd have him out for this weekend, but that did not happen. Seven Sens says, please keep raiding the Watchtower with all the bosses. It's amazing. Yeah, glad you like that. That's kind of the feeling we're trying to capture with the Starro boss when he comes out. The Phenomenal One says, so I made it a daily routine of ignoring gold spam bots. Is the team working on anything to crush them like the insects they are? Actually, yes. I don't have details, and actually I probably won't ever share those details because sharing them just helps the bots get around whatever we do implement, but it is something we are actively working on at the moment, actually. LQDCO says, will we see episode 29 this year, or too early to say? I would expect to see 29 this year, yeah. Nightcrawler is asking for Alan Scott's shirt style with logo placement. Noted. JRL would like different colors of the Speed Force material since the current one we have is color locked. It is possible. Red definitely fits the thematic as the actual negative Speed Force aura, but it doesn't necessarily mean we can't get around that. So I'll note that. What colors would you like? Atomic Wingguard says, can we have some Legion of Superheroes or something like Crisis on Two Earths where the heroes fight, and scrolled, where the heroes fight villain versions of themselves? Oh, yeah. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool idea. Very nerdy also. I approve. Is there any talks in-house about perhaps changing the member benefits? We're always open to suggestions. We literally did change the member benefits when we launched Starro. There are lots of new ones. And we'd like to continue to do things like that where members get an extra whatever in different things. If you have suggestions, we're definitely open to that. I'm not sure I buy your premise that open episodes devalue membership. They are a short-term, limited time thing. They're not available now. But I see where you're coming from. Darkest says, style suggestion, Halo hat style that we can apply materials to. Maybe just a floating texturable ring, current Halo style you can't put materials on. So if I'm remembering correctly, the Halo is kind of just like light there, and it's probably why it can't get materialed, because there is no actual material on it in the first place, or texture on it in the first place, but it's a good suggestion. LQDCO says, will the new Starro boss reward any spores? Yes, it will. Weekly, I believe, is the plan right now. Though that could change. Nexys says, would it be possible to get materials that match power sets similar to how each power has a weapon style pack, maybe in the marketplace? And then there are lots of thumbs up, smiley faces, dollar signs, and heart eyes. We don't have plans right now for materials that match power sets. So I like that suggestion. Welcome Let's Play says, in all these 6 years, where is Red Hood hiding? For a while, we couldn't use Red Hood because copyrights and rights and stuff are complicated. But we were able to put his gear in the game recently. Or I guess it's not recently now, but a while ago. So that's exciting. It's a good question where he's at. I'll note him appearing would be a suggestion. I'm also going to note Legion Superheroes, Apollo, and Midnighter, and the Watchmen. The Watchmen is a stretch. That's before very recently was held very different from the DC universe, even by DC Comics. Obviously, that's not quite the case anymore. But we don't have any immediate plans to use them or to go that far afield. Seven Sin says, could you guys implement a waving effect aura? waving effect, or I don't quite understand what you mean. Jareth says, when do you think we'll go back into the Speed Force or Nexus? I don't know. Gucci says, how many more time capsules are we going to have before we cycle back through? Well, we actually just brought all of them back for Resurgence, I mean, not even a month ago. So it's going to be a while. And the general plan is also just to keep releasing new time capsules about every 9 to 12 weeks. Dave the Dude says Staros Oscils have too low of a drop rate. I'm just going to note that. I mean, some things are rarer than others, and that is intended, but take a look. Blue, yellow, purple, and orange for Speed Force material variants. Blue, so you like yellow, purple, orange. I'm trying to see the pattern here. Blue, yellow, purple, orange. It's kind of blues and fires, I guess. Water and fire. Ah, I got it. It's probably not it. That's fine. Balkan says, style suggestion, a new Robin suit like the one from the New 52 or Rebirth comics. Do people like Robin? Is Robin a character people like? I'm not being sarcastic. I'm actually serious. Would people like to have a Robin suit, Robin themed one? I mean, which Robin? There are like 50 of them. Sorry, I'm a hater. But let me see some thumbs up or thumbs down on Balkan's suggestion. Carlin Carnage, thumbs down. And Balkan thumbed up his own thing. It's kind of funny. It's a dead heat. 3 to 4, 4 to 4 now. Look at that. Ooh, it was 5 to 4, but then a thumbs up went away and a thumbs down appeared. Somebody changed their mind. 5 to 6, 5 to 5. This is exciting. Okay, so suggestion noted, but also a mixed response from this straw poll here. Phenomenal suggests increased drop rate for rare drops if you buy membership. That's a possibility, although these days rare drops, at least in terms of gear, are kind of a thing in the past, but noted. Dave the Dude would like to see Zatanna styles. I would too, which is great. Much more exciting than Robin. Oops, is my mic on? Crappy Hill says, can we get a leaf aura for the next spring seasonal, something with leaves and nature-like? Don't see why not. Like leaves blowing in the wind type thing. Great. Maverick Raven says, I know Mark Hamill is expensive. Would you guys do content that centers around the Joker without having Hamill involved? That's a great toss-up question. I know we've talked about it in the distant past, what we might do, but no one really, the verdict's still out on that, on if we would get Hamill back or if we would go without Hamill and use someone else for the Joker. NC Mike says, for the love of God, if you can use the Watchmen, scrap everything now and get on it. Really, scrap everything right now? That earns you 2 thumbs downs, just saying. Atomic Wingard says, can we have the original Harley Quinn voice back? No, you cannot. Everyone liked Jason Todd. Robin is amazing. Why is there a cat? Tharkus reacted to Robin is amazing with a cat, and so did Wingard. I don't get it. Hang on, time out. I am back. Spord was bothering me about the stats revamp. He says something about fire and getting a new pull. I don't know. It was very. I'll have to check that out later. Day of the Dude. Got it. Water material, some of the Phoenix material. Yep. Got it. Nightcrawler wants a classic Robin tunic style with boots. You mean like the green leaf underwear style? Is that what you want? Really? Somebody gave a little puke emote. Oh, 2 people did. Yeah. Carlin Carnage does not like Robin, but you don't like anybody, so that kind of just kind of goes. Tharkus says, since we have Suicide Squad and the content that's allowed in it is growing, can we relax the heroes, can only send tells to villains, blah, blah, blah. Yes, we have talked about that several times. I will note it again because that too is a pet peeve of mine. Eric Raven says, any feedback yet on whether we could get iconics in our backup sidekick trinkets? No answer there yet. It's a cool suggestion. We've actually been talking about it very, very briefly, but hard to say. Might be something for the distant future. Balthazar wants a John Constantine or JLA Dark, Justice League Dark episode or event. I do too. I think those are underserved. Magic's great. More ideas for materials. Cursed material, aqua material, inferno material, galaxy material, holy material. Cool ideas. Copy, paste. Jaffin suggests power auras would be cool alongside power materials. I'll note that as well. Messiah says, what about platinum material? Just like a metallic, like a bright metallic. Dave the Dude says, I know that you have been with DCO since the beginning. Have you ever been a part of the Swig family? I actually haven't been part of DCO since the beginning because my first year or so on the job, I was working on Swig. I was the last Star Wars Galaxies community manager. So that's sad. Let's move on. Red map, blue map. I don't know what's going on here. You guys are crazy. Balkan says more open world boss fights, really huge bosses for Guardian Gear and Marks. I will see how it goes. Starro's kind of, or the thing we're working on for Starro is kind of a step in in that direction. See how it goes. There are lots of concerns about just the way the game is built and performance and that kind of thing. Just got to make sure it fits because it wasn't really something the game was designed with that in mind for, so we have to make sure it works. Seven Sins wants to time travel with the Flash. Maybe. Actually, he's not sure. He just likes the sound of it. Okay. Time travel is always fun. It lets you tell all sorts of different stories. Atomic Wingard wants bombshell male styles. Okay. Alarabel says, is the next DLC going to be more challenging than MS 3? Maybe a little bit. Our goal is to make the elites more challenging and to keep other things accessible. So hopefully we do a better job of doing that in the next DLC because we'll have learned from the last. So hopefully. LQDCO wants some more crystal-based items, maybe some emissive emerald, ruby, sapphire-based items. Like big hunks of crystal or like crystals on tables. Okay. Bombshell Supergirl style, sure, that would be great. Dave the Dude says, has there been any talk about level setting old content like Arkham Asylum, Kondak, FOS, like up leveling it so it's hard again? in the way past, there was some talk about that. We haven't really discussed it recently. It's a cool idea. We like. The trick with that is usually just what are the rewards and how do they work and how do we afford to make them, that kind of thing. Sinestro Zoot Suit would be neat. Really? Okay. Balkan Let's Play says, who is Savitar? Can't spoiler that. Messiah wants a survival mode in God of Monsters, second boss room. Is that the arena? Atomic Wingguard says, what about a Flashpoint Paradox style episode where you pick a side, Atlantean or Amazon, and you fight? That might work. Jaffin says, are there any celestial healing updates in today's stat revamp? Why, sir, there are, in fact. Right before we went offline to get the spring event up there, we had made changes to celestial based on feedback, but never got them actually to the live server. The general note is increase the damage, healing, and power cost on several different abilities. Those abilities include Blight, Consume Soul, Deathmark, Plague, Admonish, Blessing, Divine Light, and Wrath of the Presence. So let us know what you think of that. Again, I think there are overarching healing feedback and healing issues we want to tackle in the stats revamp, and this doesn't necessarily knock all of those out, but these abilities should be more impactful on both sides of the role divide. So let us know what you think when it's on test here in just a few minutes, actually. Can we get more medieval fantasy styles and lair items in the future? Maybe, but maybe be more specific, because we kind of have several, at least kind of magic inspired chains and pillars and whatnot. More like thrones. What are you looking for? Everett Raven says, we've talked about this in the past as well, but are we closer or farther away from getting the ability to queue in instances with smaller groups or so? I don't know how we get farther away, but we're not really noticeably closer either. Atomic Wingguard wants a big boss that can destroy buildings and stuff like proper superheroes. First of all, isn't that what everybody hated about Man of Steel? The buildings getting destroyed so quickly, we forget. Building destruction is unlikely. Also, you'd like more casual styles like tails and ears and more female shoes for females. Okay. Avatar Bombardier. Everybody wants it. People have it. I think that's noted every single week. Yep. Superman #1 terrorist. More heals. Heals. When are you freeing the buildings from those Brainiac bottles? I mean, probably never. We are terrible superheroes. We can't even save those poor people. Yeah, but Jaffin is right. The bottles exist in content. So what do we do with that content if we free them up? Jareth wants a one-hand gun sword style. Would that be a new like type of weapon, or is that just a weird-looking sword / pistol? Oh, I understand what a gun sword is. I'm just saying, how do you want it to manifest in the game? Is it a new weapon type, or is it a cosmetic for an existing weapon type? Darkest thinks he has to tell me about Final Fantasy VIII. That's hilarious. Darkest. I'm gonna add a reaction to this. There you go. Arvold says, since we have new players that doesn't seem to grasp the mechanics of the game, what do you guys think about a mentor-apprentice system with some adult incentives for both parties involved? I like it. I'd like to hear more details about how you might think that would work and be fun for you, because we don't want it to be a chore. Sally Coco says, can we eliminate gender-based styles like the tall classic feet? It's not fair that the female psychic is allowed to wear them, but the players aren't. Yeah, I can follow up on that. Usually we don't have it because we don't have it. It doesn't exist. So we could try to create it. But it is interesting that the sidekick wears it. They have to do with like vendors to be gear models. The problem is performance there, actually. So it might be possible in the future, but we would need to kind of redo where things are at and that kind of thing, which is kind of a big undertaking because there's a lot of vendor gear. But it definitely is a lot cooler to walk up to a mannequin and see it, or to walk up to a person wearing the style. Definitely agree. Vulcan wants to be able to share rare material styles of multiple characters, style unlocking. I mean, it's still in our plans for the future, but it's not soon. I have no details or time frames or how style unlocking might work. It is a pie in the sky plan. It is not something that is implemented. So Wingard wants beard styles that are not connected to certain hairstyles. Oh yeah, because it is just your hair, right? That's probably more complicated than it sounds, but I'll note that here. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I am back. Sally Coco says, I'd like to have a section in our league hall, longer hallways, which statues of league members we play. That is actually a really cool idea. If just one of those was fully customizable. I've noted that. How about a new robot style? Will the Brother Blood head style ever be fixed? The eyes look like huge orbs and it doesn't work well with materials. I can check into that. Can we have a t-shirt in-game that says we asked maps X amount of questions in Discord chat? Actually, I'd love to do that. Have like a special t-shirt you can only get by coming to Discord. I like it. It looks like we're almost ready for the stats revamp, so I'm going to go ahead and lock the room in just a couple of minutes. Get your questions in now. Then we'll answer them, and then we will go get this test server online. All right, channel's locked. We'll get these last questions, and then we'll move on to the weekend, and we'll do this again next week. Let's see. Balkan Let's Play is talking about overlapping issues between the Batman inspired mask and face mask. Got that noted. Dave the Dude says, favorite hero in the DCO lore? Favorite hero? Probably Batgirl. Messiah says, we need lots of content to keep us busy and keep DC strong. Noted. Can we have the limit of all currency, including tokens of merit, raised to $9.99? It's awkward having different limit on every coinage. Write that down. Fama 1, any plans for more movement abilities, example, land surfing, ice grinding, perhaps a bike or Batmobile-esque way? No plans right now, but it's always, you know, in the middle of people's requests. So it's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on. Maverick Raven says, how do you guys feel the revamp is going? I'm pretty concerned about the combat speed. I think many share this concern. I love that most fights are quicker than most MMOs. I'm curious if you mean cooldowns on abilities, with which we are not concerned very much anymore. Most of them are unchanged from live at this point, except where dramatically needed. If you mean just the fights are quicker or slower, in terms of like the boss goes down slower, faster, let me know that. The stats revamp will probably take longer to kill things, and be much more measured instead of spiky. So it's all about bringing the numbers into consistency, but that's also completely tweakable and something we really need to get into reviewing once we're in the kind of next phase and the power sets are in pretty good shape. Overall, stats revamp, I'm really happy with how the last couple of powers have come out, and I think we're going to be really close once we tackle a few outstanding issues with power and healing in the polish phase. So Wingard says, will we be getting any more totems? I want a Cerberus totem. Please get rid of base items like toilets and pile of dirt and give us some cool stuff that people use hand bless. Look, people need toilets, man. But noted, you want cool base items. Can we have base items interact with each other like in Madame Xanadu's magic shop? In that mission, I've seen several base items interacting with each other in one place. You have a terracotta warrior sitting next to bookshelves with several smaller base items on its shelves. So, I mean, the reality is you don't have several base items on top of each other. You have one base item that is different in it. It's a bookshelf with stuff on it. It's unlikely we'll be able to really put items on top of items. That's not how our system works. But it's a good suggestion, and more base items are definitely possible. How long will the revamp be up? The revamp will be up until we're done testing it, or until something else needs to be tested. I think I see how it's frustrating for players, but we like to get our feedback in spurts so that we can take it internally, discuss it, and not be rushed, iterate on it, and then put out a new version. It seems to work a lot better for us. And I think it's better at setting expectations for you guys as well, even though you want to be testing all the time. But it should be up for the foreseeable future. Still no plans for base item scaling or resizing Tharkus, but I'll note it again. And yes, we have already noted that everybody wants more Zatanna and Justice League Dark content. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today, for coming and joining the chat. We'll do this again next week. And until then, find us on the forums, Twitter, or even here on Discord. And keep playing DCO. Remember, we've got the bonus spore weekend, so you get double spores in the Star event this weekend through Sunday. Should be good. Make sure you do all your dailies and have fun. Okay, bye everyone.